Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another JB's Comic Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about old Monkey Prince. Monkey Prince #1. This is from back in 2022, so not too long ago, but it's in my collection, and I've just now finally got to it. It's actually from April of last year, so a little over a year old at this time. It's Enter the Monkey Part 1 of 4. Cover by Bernard Chang, good artist. I didn't really have anything by him prior to this. Written by Gene Yang, again, hadn't written anything by or read anything by Gene before this. And then the actual book art is by Bernard Chang as well. So it's funny, the only reason I went to pick up Monkey Prince initially was because I was trying to pick up the issues for Lazarus Planet. And Monkey Prince 10 was on the reading order list for Lazarus Planet. So, of course, it was out of stock at the place I normally go to. I went to eBay to buy it, purchased a copy, and then when the mail arrives, it's issue #1. So they sent me the wrong issue. They credited me this one, sent me the right one. So I got Monkey Prince #1 for free. So I said, all right, I looked it up and I said, well, I got issue 1 and it looks like it's a 4-part story. So I picked up 2 through 4. And then right now I have a gap. We'll see how well this read goes, but I have a gap. And then the next issue I think I have is 10, and 10, 11, 12 sort of lead in and tie into Lazarus Planet. So, so we'll see. Either way, excited to pick this up. New character, new writers, new artist. I hadn't read anything from DC for a while, so figured what the fuck. So we got Yang, Chang, and Chin are actually listed on the cover. Or Ching. C-H-E-N-G. So I suck with the fucking names. I'm sorry. I don't know shit about any of these creators, so we're going to give it a spin. So I read this, I think, yesterday. We start out with a child. His name's Marcus. He's being tucked into bed during a pretty crazy thunderstorm. Marcus seems overly smart for his young age. So he's young. He's being tucked into bed by his mom. His mom asks him if he's scared. He was like, no. And then he sort of blathers on about some of the science around the storm. So he's not freaked out by the storm at all. Then he's woken up in the middle of the night with some new sounds that are actually like stomping on the roof. So this wakes him up. He gets out to the hallway. He notices some wet footsteps going down the hall, leading towards his parents' room. And then we get the splash screen, Enter the Monkey, Part 1. So he makes his way down the hall. Once he gets to his parents' room, he actually sees Batman in there, who's manhandling his dad, with his mom throwing shit at him, trying to tell him to leave his dad alone. So we don't know why Batman's there, going after his dad, but he is. Batman realizes, once Marcus is standing there, he's like, oh, there's a child in the house? Oh, shit. And he books the fuck out. Batman takes out the window. So it seems that immediately after that, Marcus is hit with some sort of a medical issue. He starts having a hard time breathing, wheezing. We see that graphically represented in the comic. And then it's noted soon after that they moved out of Gotham City. So they were living in Gotham City at this time. It seemed after that we have some different panels of that they moved around quite a bit. So over the years, they lived in many different places, but Marcus always struggled with thunderstorms and anything that sort of reminded him of Batman. Shadowy figures, birds flying through the air that cast certain shadows over him, thunderstorms again, all that brought back the wheezing and the anxiety from that night when he was a kid and he was sort of spooked by Batman. So eventually they moved back to Gotham. So fast forward in time, we see that Marcus is a sophomore at high school and it looks like it's Gotham High. And we see that he's still sort of distraught with the issues plaguing him in the past. So we get a scene of him in the gym at the school where their gym pool's at. And even him touching his toes to the water, freaks him the hell out. It reminds him of that night walking down the hallway towards his parents' room. And, he starts getting all stressed out about that particular situation. And then some douchebag named Rizolino, aka the Riz, pushes him into the pool. Marcus bumps into him when he's all wigged out about touching his toes in the water, and then Riz says, hey, fuck this guy, I'm just going to go ahead and push him in the pool like a traditional comic book bully. So then we get a scene change. We're in the high school front office, as expected, or as hoping at least. He has a discussion with a guy named Mr. Zhu, who's actually mopping up all the water that he tracked to the front office. So apparently when he got out of the pool, he either went to or was told to go to the front office, and he went in there soaking wet. So Mr. Zhu tells him he has a cure for him. He has a cure for his wheezing, his anxiety, and to meet him later in the school maintenance office, and he'll hook him up. And it's funny at that time, so Mr. Zhu comments on a wide-hipped beauty walking down the hallway, which ends up being Marcus's mom. So what I like about this is it's not so overly woke that, oh my God, you can't comment that Mr. Zhu is actually attracted to someone that maybe has a fat ass, some wide hips. They're not afraid for the character to be actually heterosexual and attracted to a woman, but I'll get off my soapbox. So, Marcus says, hey, it's my mom. So mom shows up. He doesn't really spill the beans on the bullies. He just sort of says he fell in, but the bullies are outside of the office, having a laugh. And his mom could tell. She knows what's up, so she heads out of the office and gives the boys a scolding, which in turn embarrasses Marcus. So we get a scene change. We're now somewhere else in Gotham City. Laura, who's apparently the name of Marcus's mom, is arriving late to what looks to be some sort of a lab where Marcus's dad's already working on some piece of machinery for the Penguin, it looks like, because the Penguin's here. And he refers to her as Dr. Shugul Shin. So it looks like she was married, so she's got 2 last names. So we've got her first and last names now. It seems there's, the Penguin tells us there's some sort of golden demon trapped inside a gourd. And this massive machine that they have built that they're working on, they're supposed to release that demon, and it's going to release it into his former investment advisor, who's there tied to a chair, whose name happens to be Mr. Lester, and it should turn his body into solid gold. So the Penguin sees this ability to release this demon as a way to get fat money. He wants to turn his whole body into gold and get a little bit more coin in his pocket. So, the Penguin's ready to go. Mom and Dad want to test the machinery a bit more, but the Penguin's ready to rock and flips the machine on. The demon bursts out of the gourd and yells something in what looks to be Chinese. Now, what's funny here is they don't really give you a translation, but you can use like Google Translate on your phone and actually see what the text is, and it looks like it's Chinese. At least the translation seemed to pan out. So I'll get to that in a minute because there's a few more samples of that I've got some screenshots on. But it was pretty clever. Have the demon speak in a language, its native language, and require the reader to do a little bit of searching to see what the hell that is. So pretty cool, pretty little good trick there, Yang. I like that. So. When he bursts out, it looks like he says, "Who dares? Excuse me, Golden Horn." I don't know if that's a correct translation. And then he goes, "King?" So the demon's not too sure who bursts him out, and he thinks it's a king of some nature. And when bursting out, it looks like the Penguin was way too close because he ends up getting what looks to be burned. So he took some damage and was knocked to the floor when the demon burst out. So he's pissed. The Penguin's pissed that this happened, and he ends up taking out his aggression by just shooting Mr. Lester in the head. So Mr. Lester did not get turned into gold, but he did get killed by the Penguin due to the Penguin's own stupidity. So we get a scene change. We're back at the high school. Marcus has stopped by to see Mr. Zhu. Again, he refers to Marcus's mom as the wide-hipped beauty. I love it. Fucking classic. And he asks if she's seen anyone. Marcus says, yeah, she's seen my dad. And Mr. Zhu says, oh, that's fine. I'm celibate anyway. So I don't know why he's asking about her or why he's telling he's celibate, but it's still kind of funny to see him referring to Marcus's mom twice now as the wide-hipped beauty. So he finishes a soda, and then he lets out some big old burp, which Marcus takes note of as he's walking him down the hall. So this burp kind of lingers. Mr. Zhu puts his arm around him, he's walking him down the hall, and he's like, Jesus, what the hell were you drinking? Why are your burps so crazy? So Mr. Zhu takes him to the pool area. He tells him that being afraid of so many things is the root of all of his issues. Okay, yeah, we get that. And Mr. Zhu tries to get Marcus to jump into the pool. And he doesn't really call it the pool, he calls it a water curtain. Marcus isn't having it. He's like, fuck that. I've already been stressed out once today. I'm not jumping into the pool again. And he ends up storming off. So scene change. Marcus is at home. He's looking through his shoes. And it's mentioned. So what's funny, it makes sense that his mom is white. She shows up because she's drawn as such. But he actually comments that his mom is white. So he's white, Asian, makes sense. I think this is all part of an Asian American sort of comic book series, so I get it. And he's sorting his shoes, and he pulls out some sweet ass Jordan 3s for the next day. And it's funny to see the reference. Vintage Jordan 3s, the pride of my collection. I'm going to rock them tomorrow to make up for the day. So look at that. They drew some sweet fucking Jordan 3s. And then mom shows up. Marcus, are you okay? And you could see he's got little plumes of smoke around him, but he doesn't notice this yet. And his mom stops by his room and mentions it, asks him if he's been smoking. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Then Marcus just notices these plumes of smoke, and he blames it on Mr. Zhu's burp. So most people know burps don't last for hours on end, but apparently this one did. And Marcus thinks it's some sort of lingering burp that's somehow still hanging over him. So even while trying to sleep, this cloud sort of lingers, and Marcus takes note of it still hanging out. Take a shower or something maybe. So we get a scene change. Next day we're in class. Luckily the burp clouds are gone, so they must have faded overnight. A girl named Kaya whispers to him, asking if she can ask him a question. And he says, sure. Then she points and looks down, and he sees he's somehow grown a tail and runs out of the room. So here he is in class, no burp clouds, but he's got a tail growing out of his ass sticking out through the top of his pants. He rushes down to find Mr. Zhu. He's not there. The class bullies show up as they saw him running down the hall. They're pissed that apparently his mom got them detention. And they call her a Karen, and then they start whooping his ass. So they put a beating on Marcus, and then finally it stops once he starts wheezing, and they actually pull the Jordan 3s off his feet. So they stole his shoes. My cousin had his shoes stolen one day in high school back in the day, so that's kind of a funny throwback. They actually took his Jordan 3s. So Marcus wakes his way back to the pool. He recalls Mr. Zhu asking him if he's going to add swimming pools to the list of things he's afraid of. And that's sort of bothering him. He's like, look, I just got my ass whipped. Am I going to be afraid of fucking everything? And here I am at this pool. And he's like, fuck it. He jumps into the pool. When this happens, the art in the book changes to sideways. So now that we're in the water, we had to rotate the book to the side to read it, which is kind of a neat little trick. It shows you that it made sense. Water curtain reference. Now we jump in and the world sort of changes. So that's pretty cool. So he finds, Marcus, once he's in the water, finds himself, into some sort of underwater cave. He runs into a cave entry under there. So he passed through something, finds a cave entry, and he enters. He hears what he thinks are bats, and he comments on that. He's starting to get a little wigged out because he knows that bats aren't his jam. And then some ominous figure in the background you don't quite see quite yet says, no, those aren't bats. This is his father's home. And Marcus is like, what? My father's Winston Shugal Shin, Laura's husband. Apparently he's the Asian one. Duh. And this figure corrects him. He was like, no, your real father is dun 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 dun, boom, Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. And we get a full splash of the Monkey King. Then we see a bunch of the monkeys, and the Monkey King speak in Chinese. So this is where I use the translator. So as soon as they present the Monkey King. We see this sort of group. There's a bunch of other monkeys in this particular world that we've showed up in. And the translator shows, long live the Monkey King, long live the great sage of the bay. So hopefully that's accurate. The sage of the bay, I don't really understand that piece, but I get it. And then the Monkey King himself, as he pops out and shows up for the first time, says what looks to be, I am the great sage of heaven. So maybe that translation's off a bit, but it's still cool that you could sort of get the gist of what they're trying to say, even though you had to put a little work into it. So I like that. So we see a bunch of monkeys. The Monkey King himself speaking in Chinese, translated, long live the Monkey King, something about being a great sage, yada, yada, yada. It seems this ominous figure was actually Mr. Zhu, but in a slightly different form. So he refers to himself as Shifu Pigsy, and he sort of has a piggish look to him. He tells him that Marcus's world faces great danger, and that his training is to begin right now, as he is the Monkey Prince. And he pushes him out of the cave, for the lack of a better term, using his burp cloud ability. And he tells him, hey, get the fuck out of here. Your training begins right now by reclaiming what is yours. So Marcus comes flying out of the pool. Boom. He comes flying out of the pool, and he's actually fully transformed now. So he's taken on a fuller monkey form, not just a tail, but he's hairy. You can see his arms are all hairy. He's got some big chops. His face is a little more ape-like. And as soon as he lands, the clouds scoop him up and take him for a ride. They take him to the locker room where we spot Rizzy putting on his stolen sneakers that he took from him earlier in the day. So he interrupts him. It seems that one of the other boys in the locker room is also connected to the superhero game, because as soon as Monkey Prince shows up, we see him using the watch to call his dad, mentioning that there's metahuman trouble, and telling his dad that he's going to suit up. His father, at this time, you don't really know who it is, and then his father responds and says, Damien, Wayne, I'm assuming, wait until I get there. So then we get a 2-page spread of Monkey Prince just whooping ass. He embraces the title, refers to himself as the mother flipping Monkey Prince. So it's kind of funny. The Riz tries to put up a fight, but no luck. The Monkey Prince now is just too agile. So it's a little weak here that he seems to be this awesome fighter. And I don't know if he's awesome, but he's whooping some high school kids' ass left and right, a whole group of them. And he's had no training. He just transforms, and immediately he's a badass. Without sort of no ramp up. So that's a little weak to me, but overall I'm enjoying everything so far. But it would have been nice to have a little transition there, but there's a lot going on in this issue. So he finally has Riz in his grips. He's yelling at him to say my mother flipping name. What's my name? I told you 5 minutes ago what it is. And then Batman and Robin appear and tell him to let the boy go. So Damien's suited up, he's Robin, Batman showed up, they show up at this fight, and this freaks Marcus the hell out. Immediately when he sees Batman, it brings back his wheezing, anxiety, it's all front and center, and then Batman launches a batarang at him while he's got his hands wrapped around Riz's neck. The batarang, which is actually aimed at the hockey stick that Marcus was holding, so he had moved from having, he has got one hand around his neck, hockey stick holding to the other side. It actually hits Marcus in the neck instead, so Batman misses, surprisingly, and decapitates him, takes the Monkey Prince's whole head off. And what's funny is it doesn't really kill the Monkey Prince. You see his head sort of bouncing and rolling, and he's sort of commenting on, hey, this feels strange, but he's not dead. And the issue ends. So, cliffhanger. Looks like the Monkey Prince can be beheaded. Doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot to him, so we'll have to see where that goes. Looks like we are going to have a presence of Batman and Robin in this, as well as maybe some more of the Monkey King himself. A lot happened in this issue. I enjoyed the writing. There were some clever things done here. Could have been a little more detail in a few of the lead-ins, but overall, I give it a thumbs up. I'm looking forward to issue 2. Bernard Chang The art was fabulous, and Gene, the writing was good. So I'm looking forward to seeing some additional. So we'll pick up issue 2 and read it here in the next few days and get back with another review. Until then, peace.